using my husband's phone. Good. Hello, hello, hello. Whoever is here that I can see, it's nice to see names at least. So Samantha, you just stay with me, okay? I know that it's hard. I know everybody is trying to be there and to be there while we're doing so. You know, as one of my friends always says, she says, but I'm doing my ironing. I said, I love watching people iron. I'm so happy to watch other people do things while I'm stuck to my chair. It's fantastic. And it makes me feel that at least hopefully we're doing it in a way that we are going to be doing that and achieving another different level as well. So my gorgeous friend, Samantha, who can ever say no to Samantha, right? We love Samantha so much, and we just want to always say whatever we can do for Samantha, we are going to do. So we're going to be learning whatever it is that we learn that we can take on for ourselves or pass on to anybody. Really what we're going to do, we're going to be doing it in the zechus of an Aliyah Hanashama of Samantha's father, Shaul ben Yosef Chaim, who has such schuyos through his daughter and family that he is literally sitting and learning Torah next to the Kisa HaKavod Yoimam V'Layla. And each time that we have something, he's doing better and better. And what it's a tzedekah, there's somebody who has no family, nobody to do anything for him. So Samantha wanted to make sure that Michael, David, Ben, Aharon Halevi should have mitzvahs, Torah learning, and anything done in his zechus, because he doesn't have any immediate family or any extended family to actually be doing this. So you're doing, not only are we going to be learning something, but we're going to be doing a huge chesed shel emet, something that we do that is so big that nobody's going to repay us for. But I'm going to start by telling you something very beautiful that I heard recently. Today somebody told me a beautiful story about a man who needed to be looked after. And there was a very wealthy man in the area in Yerushalayim. This is a true thing that actually happened. And so this man needed somewhere to live, and he had an extra property, and he said, okay, you know what, let's sort out this older Rebbe. He can come and he can stay in the house, and he found a place for him to stay. And he became like a little bit of a shamash. He became looking after this man. Now, the man we can call is Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cohen was a very comfortable, wealthy man. And all he wanted to do was to be sharing and doing, and sharing and doing. I'm just going to turn this off. Sharing and doing for people. Anyway, this man aged and he hadn't been well, but it was all a natural way and a place. Thank you, Chaviva. It was a natural way and a place that he would continue to be able to do. And eventually he takes care of this man and he says to him, you know what? He says, when you get to Gan Eden, okay, the wealthy man says to this rabbi, he says, when you get to Gan Eden, I want you to do me a biggest chesed. I want you to find out what it is and let me know what it is that we can do, what it is that we can do. So he says like this, he says, I don't know if I can do such a thing. It's actually a lot to ask somebody to do. And it's not really, I can't promise you that I'm going to be able to come to you in a dream, but I will see what I can do. And if I can, because of all the chesed that you have done for me in my lifetime now, I will do my very best to try and find out for you what it is. The man leaves this world. A little bit of time goes by. He doesn't hear anything. And he has this dream. And this rabbi comes to him in a dream and he says to him, all I can tell you is that chesed are gold blocks here. Chesed in this world are pure gold. Whatever you're going to do, that's a chesed, is going to be something that you won't imagine what it's going to be, the value of what it's going to be for you, for anybody. It is absolutely incredible. So he thinks to himself, I'm a wealthy man. What can I do? I'm a wealthy man. I don't really need to be doing these things. So you know what this man decides to do? He has a car, and on Erev Shabbos, on Fridays. He knows how difficult it is for people to get from one place to another. And this man would go to bus stops. And he would stop outside at a bus stop. At a bus stop, he would just stop in and say, where are you going? Can I give you a ride? Yeah, I'm going in that direction. But actually, what was found out that this man had taken this on, not because he was going in that direction, but because he landed up going in the direction that the person needed to go, because that was a chesed that he could do for someone else. Now, I don't know how many of you have ever lived in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, I don't know how many of you have ever been there, and probably even now, I don't know, not even the last year, because we can't speak about the last year because of the challenges. But really, we're talking about a person who says, what can I do to help Klal Yisrael? We have it hard. People can have it very difficult. And in Eretz Yisrael, it can be shopping and schlepping, running to get somewhere. And here was this man, and he chose to go and do this chesed of giving a person a lift to lighten their load, of seeing somebody who was carrying bags and saying, can I give you a ride to where you're going? And so, well, where are you going? No, where did you say you were going? Oh, yeah, of course, that's exactly where I'm going. I'm one street away, right? What an amazing, amazing thing. When we look at what doing a chesed does for us, what does doing a chesed do for me? Come on, Samantha, tell me what it is, what doing a chesed can do for a person. You muted, so right.
You want to make them feel loved and wanted and cared for, that someone's thinking of them.
Okay, but how do we feel once we've done the chesed?
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay. So when Samantha says, like, what do you want? What is simcha? Okay, what is simcha? What do we want to have besides her beautiful sister? What is simcha? Okay. What do we see when we were blessed, Baruch Hashem, 15 years ago? We had a year that was beyond even any comprehension. And I was b'sha'at tovah. We had a bar mitzvah, then we made an engagement, then we made a wedding, then we made an engagement, and then I had a baby, and then we made a wedding. Kanana Hara, there was just about time to breathe, Baruch Hashem, in between all the different things. And somebody said to me, you have to call this baby Simcha, because it's a boy or a girl. We had my father-in-law to name after, which was also another chesed. He had been nifta within that year. And that was a beautiful chesed to be able to name a child directly for the exact name. I wanted to add a name. I said, no, it's a name, but it was felt very short, Zev Dove. But that was his name, and that's who he became. But really what we see is one of the most beautiful, beautiful things is that we see that through the giving and the doing and the thing, we ourselves become part of something which is simcha. I think that over this year, we've all learned so much. And should I maybe correct myself and say that I hope over this year, we have all learned so much. Last week, when I called, I want to just say hello personally to everybody, because I see tomorrow Lester's there as well. And I don't know, we can change our name, Michelle, but we'll call you Albert if you really want. But whoever I've got you, and Gina, everybody, just to say hello, and to Bella. So it's like, and if I've left anybody else, please, you'll have to show your faces and then I can wave and say hi. Okay. So what is it? Okay. What do we really look for? So last week I called up last Sunday, or Motzei Shabbos it was, I messaged Sarah Yocheved Riegler, and I said to her, I was supposed to have another speaker. And then when I realized that it's Rosh Chodesh Adar, I just realized that what I'd asked what the person was going to speak about was sharing such a challenging time in their life. I felt that I wanted to change the dates. It just didn't fit right for me to have that on Rosh Chodesh Adar. But I thought that maybe Sarah Yocheved would be able to share some insight. And I was like, and you know what she said to me? She said, Joanne, she says, it's very, very difficult right now to speak on Simcha in that way. The Jewish people and the world are going through such a challenging time. How can we speak on Simcha in that way? And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, Joanne, you better rethink this. Okay, because we know we spend our lives wanting to be positive and happy and think about, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us, Hashem wants us to be doing everything that we can do besimcha, so that he's able to open up the gates and send Mashiach, because that way we'll be able to greet him and greet Mashiach besimcha. And he wants us to understand what all these things are. And then I thought to myself, okay, finding the simcha in Adar. How do we find simcha in Adar? And I thought, it's all very well, okay? It's all very well for us to think about all the things that we want to be able to find. But ultimately, the most important thing is when we find something that is really deep within ourselves. Everybody has it. We all possess this beautiful midah of simcha. We all possess this amazing place of understanding who we are and what we are. We all know that everything that we do and how we do it helps us to focus on all the things that we do so well. What do we say? Ezehu asher sameach bechelko. How do we look and say, Hashem, thank you for absolutely everything. And you know what, when we say everything, we mean everything. We don't just mean the little bits here and there. We mean everything, because when we look out at other people, when we look out at other people, what do we look at? Sometimes we think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if, and sometimes we think other things. But what we have to remember is that every single thing that every single person has and that exists within us is coming from the entirety of who the people are. Now, right now, I'm actually really in the middle of a bat mitzvah program, which happened like this. It just happened. It didn't really, but it did. Okay. I had a mum call me 2 weeks ago. This is the second week. So yeah, like less than 2 weeks ago. And she said to me, in fact, today's Sunday, so she called me Monday 2 weeks ago, tomorrow. And she said, I just want to do something extra for my daughter for her bat mitzvah. She had a beautiful from school and everybody's trying hard and we're all trying and everybody wants to do more and more. But actually, I want to do more for her. And it's her birthday on Thursday. And I wanted to have a little bit. I said, oh my gosh, okay. And she told me what she was doing. And I said, you know what, while you're doing that, just for your immediate family, just create quickly a l'chaim for all the family for 10 minutes. You can give a quick Dvar Torah, but let everybody come from all over the world. And she said, afterwards, it was wonderful. I'm thinking, what else? And then she says to me, will I do a program? Will you do a program? Will I do a program? Can you have a look at like Sunday nights for 5 weeks? I said, well, I can do last week. This week, I'm committed to this wonderful Samantha, and anybody that wants to learn with Samantha and myself is always welcome, which is the most beautiful thing, right, Samantha? And then the weeks after, yes, I can do whatever. And we said, before I knew it, she says, okay, Joe, she says, Monday, Tuesday, she had 32 girls' names paid, sealed, and signed. I said, well, 32, we can't really do 32 because it doesn't break up properly. But she says, a few hours later, she says, actually, they're 39 girls. Right. I'm thinking to myself, why do I want to do it? Like, I've got nothing else to do. And then I suddenly felt, I thought to myself, you know what? These kids are suffering. It's not only adults that are having a hard time. These kids, from whatever age, there's no school to go to. There's no social things. They're all the challenges. Some people have busy houses. Some people have less busy houses. I feel bad for my poor little 15-year-old because he's the only one in this house that's not an old person, Never, the poor kid, it's like, we're very boring people. Can you imagine having had literally just about every single Shabbos meal, okay, during any lockdown time? 3 of us. My daughter and son-in-law were part of what we make our bubble, and they come most times one meal, but the other meal. And we've got to look, and I said to myself, you know what? This is the place where we've got to be able to say that to do something that we share is part of the chesed of the entirety of who we are. When we put something in called chesed, you know what we get from that? We get simcha. Because ultimately, I'm just going to cough. We say now, I'm just going to get my water. Wherever you go, you're really not allowed to cough. That's it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a cough, you're not allowed to cough. You've got something tickling in your throat, you're not allowed to cough. But if you're in your house, don't tell anybody I coughed, okay? That's the harsh reality of where we are. Things have changed, but we also look at the world and we say, you know what, where's flu gone? All these different things that have happened in our world that have changed our thought process about whatever we do. But when we're in a place that we can create and we can make something called simcha, I'm blessed enough and happy enough that I could at least call my daughter who does Tehillah, Rebbetzin Birnbaum, who does the program for me anyway, and I could actually bribe her. I'm good at bribing, so it works. If I think it worked when she was little, it works much better now when she's older. So we're all good. And there she is doing a program. I've got one computer over there with the Zoom with the Bat Mitzvah class, and one computer here. And I'm thinking, Hashem, how wonderful can you be? How blessed can we be in seeing and understanding the things that we are able to do? What chesed. Do you know the things that go on? And we've got to remind ourselves, and we've got to look to see how we can do things and how we can help people. And we have to remind ourselves that it's important to be able to do that. And we have to remind ourselves to look out and say, who can we do something for? Because everybody can do something for another person that they can't do, and it gets passed around. But we've got to be able to reach out. And the most beautiful feeling. And when we look at it and we say, thank you, Hashem, for what we have. And when Sari Yocheved Rigla, for those of you that haven't listened, I'm not going to re-go back in my, me and my gratitudes. I think people get sick and tired of my gratitudes, but I want to tell you, it can never end. Gratitude is something that I actually just saw in a Costco magazine. I'm trying to remember where I saw it. They're going to be selling gratitude journals. Okay. You think Oprah Winfrey was talking about gratitude for no reason at all? Of course she was. Why? Because everything that we think we don't have, when we recognize and realize that we do have, becomes that much more and gives us that greater amount of simcha. I'm going to share something with you that happened to me last Thursday. It really just shook me a little bit. It was a positive shake. It was just like, if ever we think for one moment when we're going through something which is difficult, we think like, okay, Hashem, where are you? We know that he's there. We know. So last Thursday was the 29th of Shvat. For those of you who know, I always say no because we talk about it in the present tense because we learn for people and our rabbis and our teachers who taught us never stop teaching us because every day we're still learning from them. So they're present, they're in the present tense. So it was the Yotzat of Dunlopia. Now, I have a friend also who's an artist. So I have sitting here in front of me, she's done beautiful pictures, they're cutouts or whatever. And she's done these beautiful pictures for me that I have sitting here in front of me. My office and my life sits at my dining room table. I'm now on the one side of my dining room table, and I usually sit on the other side. So you've got a new picture behind me. So if anybody's been to any of my classes, this is your Shalayim, and that one's the Kaisel. Okay, that's the Kotel. One colored one, and it's at that side of the table, and this one is my golden Yerushalayim behind me over here. Okay, so Thursday morning, we merit to have a Tehillim group for anybody that ever wants to join us every Thursday morning from 10 till 11 with Rebbetzin Rochel Silber. So Rochel Silber taught us a very beautiful lesson, and we were doing it for my friend's father's Yotzat, and for her mom, and for Refuah for her, and also for Dunlopia. And I thought, to be able to learn Torah, to give back to somebody that you received from is such a beautiful thing. So she teaches us and she's telling us this beautiful idea, every single word of Tehillim that we say gets heard. And every time before you say your Tehillim and you put your tzedakah in your tzedakah box, if it's 1p or if it's 5p, Hashem just wants you to say, I'm doing the mitzvah and I'm saying Tehillim, so listen to me. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It's not about big amounts. It's about doing the mitzvah. And then we daven And we say that to Him and we ask Hashem. And she said, don't ever think for a moment that Hashem doesn't listen to our tefillahs. What does He listen to our tefillahs? He understands and He hears and He listens to our tefillahs and He says to us, He says, yes, my child. He just doesn't say when. He says, yes, my child. He doesn't say when I'm going to give it to you what you're asking for. And sometimes we also think that there's a finality of something and He didn't give the refuah that we wanted. There's a finality of something and He didn't give us what it was that we wanted. We don't know where it's going to. And all those tefillahs and all those blessings might go to other people and to your children and your grandchildren. We've got no idea where each tefillah goes. Okay, and she shares a story. And the story she shares about a teacher who was a very good friend of hers, it still is, but it was a number of years ago in America. And she shares and says that this teacher, you can either get paid over 10 months or over 12 months. And this teacher needed the money over 10 months. And it comes the end of the school year, she gets her paycheck, she takes her paycheck, she puts it into her wallet, which is her purse, and she puts that into her purse, which is a handbag, okay, because they speak different English in America. And she's now got her check in her wallet, in her bag, and she goes home. And when she gets home, she's doing something, and then she's going to go to the bank. But before she goes to the bank, she's looking for the check. She can't find her check. She puts money into Rabbi Meir Balanes, no check. She's searching and searching. Now, this money has to get her through the next 2 months. So Rebbetzin Silber said that her friends, everybody helped her. They managed. She got through the 2 months. It was nearing the end of the 2 months, and she gets a summons because she had omitted to pay a parking fine. And she gets this letter. Now she's got to go to the police station, and she's got to show them her thing, and she's got to pay the fine. And she's saying she doesn't know how she's going to do this. Like, what does Hashem think He's doing to her? Like, enough. So she gets into her car. She's got to present herself, and she has to present her driver's license. Now, the driver's license was like a folded page inside the purse, inside the wallet that she's been searching for, and looked in it every week. And as she takes out her driver's license, opens it up, the page that it goes from being an A4 folded, opens it up, something falls out. And she bends down, picks it up, and it's that check. It's the check. Okay? Now, Hashem said, you asked me for the money, you asked me for the this, but I knew that you were going to need it in 2 months. So I hid it away for you. I hid it away from you, for the entire time. Okay? So I have a friend who was on the Zoom and she wasn't happy with us. She could have just asked them to rewrite her check and da-da-da-da-da. And she said, look, she worked in a secular non-Jewish school. It's not so simple to go and just say, oh, I lost my check. Can you just reissue me another one? And she was embarrassed. She was a frum woman. They knew she was frum. And here she is going and saying, I lost my check, my 2-month check. I've lost it. So she left it. And she didn't want to do that. So I said, and look what Hashem did. So my friend still had an argument. I said, you know what? I've only got 5 minutes now. We try and learn something. So we stay on, try and learn something from her. I said, you know what? Let's just learn. We learn from Wisdom Each Day, which is one of Rabbi Twersky's 90 books. Okay, one of Rabbi Twersky's 90 books. If anybody read the Hamodia this week, you would have seen that there was an article written by Rabbi Twersky that was given into the Hamodia just a week or so before he was nifta. And it was about his 90 years and his 90 books and the different things that happened where he was put in different places along his life and how each one impacted on the next. And it wasn't written from someone else about him. It was written for him. It's like he wrote his own story for us and the Hamodia could publish that. But now I have a book and I meant to check what year this book had been published. So what year was the book published? I don't know because I didn't check, but it's a long time before Dan Loppian was nifta. And I said to my friend, 29th of 29th of Shvat. Let's learn today what's on for the 29th of Shvat. And we open it up. It was a beautiful lesson. The lesson was really about somebody, when somebody tells you it was a Gemara based on an idea that somebody says to you, you're drunk, go back, go to sleep and sober up. But the drunkenness isn't about only drunkenness and about drunks. This is what the Gemara says. It's about when you're being stubborn and somebody says to you, you're being stubborn, and you say, no, 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 I'm not. Okay, or anything where we become obstinate in something in any area. But when many people tell us this, or one or two or three people say to us, you need to reevaluate. Maybe we need to reevaluate. So it's like saying to somebody who gets drunk, like, wait for Purim and remember these words. Come on, don't drive. Come on, let's go home. You're drunk. I'm not drunk. I'll prove it to show that I can walk on a straight line. Okay. You ever heard that line before? And especially when it comes to Purim, I think that drinking should be banned, but that's something totally different from my personal perspective. I think that everybody was allowed to have one l'chaim, say l'chaim. We as people do not know how to deal with it today, and we see too many tragedies that come from it. But when somebody says to somebody, and we don't want to admit it, it's any area. It's not only about drink. It's about everything. It's about being stubborn. It's about being rude. It's about anything. You know, sometimes you'll talk to teenagers. Don't speak to me like that. Like what? You're being rude. I'm not. Okay. Anything that we learn. So Rabbi Twersky goes on to explain. Listen to this. This is the Yotzat of Dan Lopian. Rabbi Twersky goes on to explain a psychological phenomena, okay, of something that happens, of something, okay, that happens in a person who actually blames things on their life from when they were the child, and things that they never managed to get over and to learn through as adults. So it's something in a psychological way that's called the residual child within. And even in adulthood, people need to learn how to get that out and become the mature adult. How many times do we say they're a mature adult? Why don't they behave like da-da-da? Okay, because they haven't learned how to do it yet. And we need to learn. And then Rabbi Twersky quotes none other than Rav Elia Lopian. Okay, he's there on the Yotzat of Dayan Gershon ben Aryeh Leib. Rabbi Twersky on that day in the lesson quotes Rav Elia Lopian. And I went cold. And I said to this woman, do you think Hashem didn't do this for the two of us? I know that he's in control of everything, but he wants you to see that even all those years ago and the things that happened, isn't it just amazing? Isn't it amazing? Look what Hashem can do. He can give us the gift. I said, you know, every year now, at Mevesim Shana, I can learn from Rabbi Twersky Zechet Tzaddik Livracha in the Schut of Dayan Gershon Lopian Zechet Tzaddik Livracha, and have quoted his grandfather, Rav Elia Lopian Zechet Tzaddik Livracha. That is what we call a hug from Hashem. So listen to the lesson. Rav Elia Lopian says that he was standing outside the door of Rav Chaim of Dvinsk, and he hears him talking to a child, explaining a difficult Gemara. And he's explaining it to this child to make it so clear that even a young child learns and understands and knows to understand the Gemara. And Rav Elia knocks and goes in to the room, and he sees there's no one there. And he says to Rav Chaim, he says, where's the child? He says, what child? He says, I was talking to myself. I wanted to be clear exactly about what the Gemara was saying. So I explained it to myself as though I was explaining it to a child. In our lives, we go through so many challenging, difficult things. All of us. Nobody's exempt, because Hashem has a blessing for us. Hashem says you didn't come into this world to have a party. You did not come into this world to go on holiday and to have everything easy. He says, if that's what you think, you're wrong, and you're just going to be disappointed. Hashem wants us to grow. Hashem wants us to become wholesome, worked on, developed people. And each and every one of us has a different tafkid. Each and every one of us has a different thing that we have to fulfill for who we are. And sometimes you're going to feel like the grape. You know how you get grape juice and wine? Does everybody know how you get grape juice and wine? You take grapes and you squeeze them, or you stand on them. Okay, I prefer squeezing. I would tell you that if you ever get stuck anywhere in the world and you haven't got grape juice or wine for Kiddush, go to the local shop, find grapes, take them home and squeeze grapes into your glass. And that's the grape juice. You've got to do it before Shabbos. And that's the grape juice that you're allowed to use to make Kiddush on, to elevate your Shabbos. You know how you make oil? Purest olive oil. You take an olive. And an olive's even harder than a grape because you can't really do it in your hands. You've got to, until you get out a little bit of oil. But the oil that you get out and the oil that we have is beautiful. And it's pure. And that oil is going to be the oil that's going to be lighting the menorah when Mashiach comes and when our temple is going to be rebuilt. When we as women light our Shabbos candles, I just cleaned and look, there's my cupboard, and I always have them Matzah Shabbos done and prepared. And you know what? My candlesticks needed cleaning, so I only just finished them now and I haven't moved them over yet, but they'll be moved over tonight before we finish. Before I go to bed tonight, they'll be in my cupboard, clean it. Okay, so I'm looking and they're not there. But the oil that we light when we light our Shabbos candles, that's the light that we bring into the world. And when we use olive oil, it elevates even our Shabbos candle lighting. So what we understand and that we know is that that purest part of that oil, which is so difficult to get out, and it hurts sometimes, squeezes us. And Hashem comes and he says, you know, I want you to be the best that you can be. You know how you're going to become the best that you can be? Simply by overcoming the challenges that you thought were such challenges. And what they're going to give us are living skills. You know, there's nothing nicer than for me when I hear 15-year-old cracking up laughing. You know, there's so much going on. And I think to myself, oh, I wish it wasn't a silly YouTube thing that he's watching. But at least he's laughing. At least he's having a good laugh. Because all we need to laugh. We need to find something inside that makes us, you know, my granddaughter told me a joke last night. I have to tell you, I needed to pick up something in Edgware. So I went and my granddaughter came back and, you know, all these things. So she's got to sit in the back and, whatever. Okay. Soon. Can't even get a hug, right? All you're waiting for is a hug. You just want a hug, like the biggest hug, you know. One of our sons is, I say, Baruch Hashem is in Yerushalayim, but it's an entire year since I saw him. And we think because we're so spoiled in our worlds, we're so spoiled because we were just getting on planes and going backwards and forwards and everything was, oh, we'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go there, we'll go there. And now Hashem says, oh, no, you won't. Oh, no, you won't. But things are still happening and we're desperate. Right? We want to be there and we want to be in that place and we want to be able to connect. So when we see the things and we look for our simcha, we say, where are we going to get to? How are we going to get to that place? How are we going to be squeezed? How are we going to come out of it in the right time, in the right place? Who's going to help us to come out of it? We look at Hashem and we say, you know what, Hashem? I'm doing everything that I can for you. I'm following where I need to be. I'm looking at the place that I'm doing. You know why? Because whatever I have, when we understand that we are prepared to give up whatever we have for the closeness to Hashem, that's when we're actually reaching a little place and a part. When we understand that that tiny bit of oil what we had to go through, that we light our candles, and our Shabbos candles connect us to the time in the Beis HaMikdash. We're saying, okay, even if we're not going to be lighting candles in the time of Mashiach, who knows? Who knows? We're going to have Sarah around with us. She's going to come and teach us how to do all these things. The one thing we know that we're going to be doing is we're going to be mafresh challah. We're going to be separating our challah. Right, Samantha? How many years have you been making challah?
When did you teach us? At least
I don't know. I was trying to tell somebody, I was looking and thinking, I think you were my first challah make that I ever did, you know.
Michelle, do you remember? Aviva? When did we do? We all did it together.
I think it was definitely one of my definite early ones that we did as a group. And the years and the things, and you look and you think to yourself, but you know what's so beautiful and amazing? The power and the energy of the woman. It's all of us, the power and the energy of who we are. Esther, beautiful to have you there. It's so amazing, because without the woman, we would not be where we are. Without the strengthening of every single woman who knows she's got to be there. It doesn't matter how hard it is. If she's not lighting her Shabbos candles, and she is not baking that challah, and you don't have that smell of the challah in the home. As far as I know, the Ben Ish Chai says that a woman should make challah at least once a year. She has to make a bracha on her fashas challah. I heard something else now to say that a woman should allow a husband to be mafresh challah at least once in the year as well. And the best time to do it is before Rosh Hashanah. Right? I'm thinking, I'm not giving up mine on Rosh Hashanah. You can have one of the 5 loaves that we make. Okay, so make your own as well and let him do his own. Right? So that he's got schus, that he's got a schar for doing something for the Kohanim. When we do and what we do, we don't do for ourselves. We want to bring light into the world. We want to bring Shabbos into the world. We want to bring light because we want more light to take away from the darkness. The darkness in the world that we're living in is spiritual. Can you imagine? I have a flyer. We have a program on Tuesday night, Making a Good Marriage Better. Okay, Emetz Hashem. Anybody who needs to find their zivug, we're going to daven now that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the zivug agun for anybody here on the screen that needs to find their zivug, and he should send it soon. You're supposed to say Amen. Okay, I hope behind your screens and everywhere you said Amen, because that's what we want Hashem to do. Making a good marriage better. And there are 2 men. And they were actually, the first picture was I had them, they sent it to me. They were sitting on a couch and they teach people about marriage, a different perspective, being in control, knowing where we're going and what we're doing, thinking before we get married, how to navigate. And I get a message from somebody, you can't send that out. I'm like, what? Why not? It doesn't look appropriate. 2 men sitting on a couch. I'm like, you're joking. Who thinks like that? We're living in a world where people don't even know how to think what's light and dark spiritually. I recreated, I got the guy who does the flyers. I said, just separate them, put them into separate boxes. Okay, put them in separate boxes. I'm like, where are we in the world? Why do we have to think like that? Have we lost the whole plot? Then last night I see somebody sends me a message about 2 men that have just had 3 surrogate children. Twins and another one born on the same day. And this is like this big excitement. And I'm nebach. It can't be like that. We're in the dark. That is the dark. Where's the light and where's the simcha? In our Torah and in our mitzvahs. The light and the simcha is every time you light your Shabbos candles, every time you're making your challah, you've got to sing and you've got to dance and you've got to say Hashem. Whatever the challenges and however there are so many people suffering. And we want it all to be good. So we have to do whatever we can do to find the simcha in every single thing that we do. And the way to find the simcha, before we go to sleep tonight, we have to thank Hashem for the tiniest little things, you know, for the blessing that we can go like this and rest our face on our hands. Right, Samantha? Because I can bend my hand and I can create a little cushion. And it's much more comfortable than just. And I've got to be able to count the blessings and look at the blessings of everybody that's around us. And I watch Samantha, yeah, Ellie, she does a beautiful job. I promise you, I watch her whenever she's in class and she's walking around and following. I watch. And I think, what a blessing. What a beautiful thing. We'd all love that. But we have to look to see, what do I want to do? How am I going to focus on everything that I need to keep focused on in the challenging times of darkness? And I don't mean nighttime. I want us to be able to say the Tehillim of Shabbos and understand that we say the Ve'emunascha Belayla. When we say, what do we need? We've got Hashem's chesed b'boker chazdecha ve'emunascha belayla. We've got the chesed because that's when we see clarity. That's when we see the light. That's when we see Hashem's hand with us and guiding us. But when we lose sight for 1 minute of Hashem's hand, that's when we have to double activate that emunah. And that's when we've got to say, Hashem, I can't see you. I'm not even sure I can feel you, but I know you're there. And if you really, really, really want to have him there with you, close your eyes. Pretend that you're in Yerushalayim. Feel yourself standing very close to the Kaisel. Not all of us are lucky enough to maybe try and get there. And I have to tell you, we're supposed to have today. I'm supposed to be tonight in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, I can say it because I had my ticket booked. I had hotels booked for 60 mothers and daughters for their bat mitzvah year going to Eretz Yisrael. And you know what? I'm laughing to myself now because I'm thinking maybe Hashem did this so we didn't have to have half of our trip in rain and snow, because Wednesday and Thursday you're expecting snow and rain, okay, in the Holy Land. And I had organized for my tour guide to go on Wednesday and to meet us in the Old City and take us on a virtual tour around Jerusalem. He says, Joanne, the weather's going to be awful. So tomorrow he's going to Caesarea and a few things, and he's going to video things, and he'll still do something of Eretz Yisrael. And we were meeting 2 young men to do some singing with their guitars and everything at the Kaisel. So we'll find a way where they'll do it. We'll find a way. But can you imagine? We're living in the times of darkness. Our chesed is the light that helps us to see that we're doing Hashem's will. Our actions of doing things like this, of saying, there was a person, I'm doing this for my father, Samantha saying, and she's saying, can I do it for my father and another man as well who didn't have any family? What a chesed. What a chesed. That I really, really, really believe that ad 120 shana, we're all going to be so shocked when we're going to be standing in front and we're going to say, what? And he said, you remember that chesed you did for somebody? You carried somebody's bag. You said hello to somebody. You asked if they're okay. You got somebody else to do something for them, but it was you who did it. You know, somebody gave me a beautiful thing last Thursday. She sends me a message, and you know, I don't know if you remember, she's calling me from Brazil because she comes to my programming on all the Zooms. And she says to me, you know, she says, you know, 20 years ago, you helped me to fill out my forms for Neve. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Okay, yeah, I remember, you know, doing so many of them. I can't remember each thing. She said, you helped me get into Neve. She says, Joanne, today I'm sitting and filling out forms for my daughter to go to Gateshead. I just want you to know, okay? It should really just be that every single one of us look inside. We find the good, we find the chesed, we find the light. We focus on Hashem taking us and saying, squeeze me as hard as you want. I'm going to get out of there. Swing the rope as hard as you want. We're holding on. And Hashem, if we have to give up absolutely everything so that we can be with you, my tambourine's waiting. We're coming. Okay, we're coming. And we're going to be there. So I'm just warning Esther to get everybody up and ready for as soon as the minute that it happens, the minute we're told that Mashiach is there, we packed our bags, we're gone. We're out. And we don't need much with us because there's very little we really need to take. It should really just be in the suchus of all of us taking something and doing, making sure that we find the simcha within us. Misha nichnas adar marbim besimcha. The marbim besimcha has to be internal within me. You don't have to be out dancing and whatever. You can dance a little bit, put a little bit of music, sing, dance. Just talk to Hashem. Talk to Hashem. And that should be the most beautiful music that we have. Okay? And that in the schus of all of the Nashim Tzadkaniyot that we will greet Mashiach very, very, very soon.